till the draft, and I promised you 9 draft questions, and we are continuing to count them down here. Schefter, the next one is for you. Are we expecting any big draft day trades based on what you are hearing from the people you talk to?
What usually drives trades, Greeny, are quarterbacks. And the quarterback availability in this year's draft is substandard. Therefore, there will be trades in the first round, teams jockeying for position. There always are. But the number of trades feels like it'll be down compared to other years because of the number of quality quarterbacks available in the first round. Again, there's always going to be a team that identifies a certain player it wants and pursues and perhaps makes a deal for. We saw last year the Falcons trade up to the Rams spot for James Pierce, the pass rusher. Maybe there'll be something like that. Dallas jumping up for a defensive player. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know that we're going to get this abundance of trades next Thursday night the way we normally do, because there aren't the number of quarterbacks that there normally are available that usually leads to those types of trades.
I'll give you 2. One of them we talked about already, the possibility of someone trading into the back end of round 1 to take Ty Simpson.
There's
we'll
one.
See if that happens.
There's one.
And I'll give you another. How about this one, Mr. General Manager? I'm the Dallas Cowboys. I have 12 and 20. And Sonny Styles is still on the board by the time we get, let's say, to 6 and the Cleveland Browns. I'll give you 12 and 20 for the 6th pick, and I will take Sonny Styles if I'm Jerry Jones. What do you say to that?
If I'm Cleveland, I say absolutely. If I'm Jerry Jones, I say hold your powder. Here's the concern, Greeny, is they go from 20 to 92. They need 2 really good players in the first round. I love Sonny Styles. I think he is a rare off-the-ball linebacker. But ideally, they get 2 good young defensive players. As much as I love Styles, I just don't know I would do it if I have to give up both ones.
What do you think, J-Mac?
I like it. I like the fact of it from a standpoint of I feel like the Cowboys are an impact player away from being a contender on that defensive side of the ball. And you get a guy like Sonny Styles that has the ability, off-the-ball linebacker, but in certain package can get on the ball, be able to rush the passer, has some raw ability in that as well. But he is such a special athlete, and he will become the quarterback of your defense that I think makes a huge difference. And a guy on day one you can insert in there and make a big impact.
And if the Cowboys could address one need in this draft more than any other, I think it would be linebacker.
Right.
So that's a player that I think would be awfully enticing to them. The question is, can they get up high enough to get a player like that, who I think is going to be square in play at number 4 with Tennessee and number 5 with the New York Giants?
Well, there's a bunch of defenders from Ohio State that are going to go high in this draft. Arvell Reese is probably going to go top 3. You just mentioned Sonny Styles. And then there's Caleb Downs. Safety is not a position of, one of these positions that people call of need, but he's a special player. Is he a player, J-Mac? That's my next draft question. Is Caleb Downs from Ohio State a player that in your mind is good enough to take in the top, let's say, 5, even though he plays the safety position, which we don't usually put there?
You're going to ask a DB that question. I'm going to absolutely.
Yes, a corner for sure.
It's different, but still, I'm going to say yes, it isn't. Eric Berry in 2010 was the last time we've seen it. But as I look at Caleb Downs, a lot of it has to do where he's coming from. Coming from Ohio State, playing under Matt Patricia, their defensive coordinator, they ran a pro-style defense where he was asked to do a lot of different things, playing in a deep part of the field, playing closer to the line of scrimmage. You can tell he's a cerebral player that you can plug in there, and he's going to help line different people up, and he's really going to get your defense going. A playmaker. So I would say let's move up. Don't overthink it. Don't do too much with it. He still would be an underpaid safety. He becomes an elite player.
Answer the question on the screen, Mike T. Is he worthy of a top 5 pick?
Yes, but I'm hesitating. I love the player. I just worry about overdrafting a safety. As J-Mac just said, Eric Berry was the last one to go to the top 5, but he can play man-to-man on the tight end. He's a great tackler in space. I really like him. To be a tiebreaker, I would take Sonny Styles over him because I think he'll be more impactful.
I remember saying one time to a coach in the league, hey, I think if there's a player that'd be great to draft, Ed Reed. And the coach said to me, you could always find a safety in the draft. Here's the deal. It's a great player. 5 is not too high.
Right.
6 is not too high. Great players are great players. You want as many great players as you can get. Caleb Downs looks like a great player.
If he's Ed Reed, then obviously he'll wind up being very well worth it. And then my next draft question is for you, Mike Tannenbaum. Everybody knows Fernando Mendoza will be the first pick in this draft. Everyone generally knows Ty Simpson will be the 2nd quarterback taken in this draft. Who's the 3rd best in this class?
I'm going to go with Carson Beck from Miami. Just given all his experience, his production. Look, there was a point in this season where I think he had a chance to go maybe in the top half of the 2nd round, and it's close to me between Carson Beck and Garrett Nussmeier. I just think his arm strength, his anticipation is a little bit better than Nussmeier's, and his ceiling is a little bit higher. But I'm telling you, Greeny, we're going to go a couple rounds here from wherever Ty Simpson goes, bottom of the first, top of the second, to Carson Beck, who I think he'll go in the third. But I do think he has starter ability for a lot of the reasons we're looking at here. He has deep ball accuracy.
He's an interesting one. He and Garrett Nussmeier and Drew Aller are the names that you hear next. It's really unclear when they're going to go. Could be maybe on day 2, could be all the way to day 3.
And a lot of it is looking at the traits. Which one of these 3 traits do you feel like you can develop? I really like Nussmeier and his ability. There's a part of courage with him that you see him go out there and he's going to try to make the play and go out there and force it to happen. Sometimes that doesn't work out well for you. Sometimes you see some of those special moments that happen for him. So Nussmeier is a guy that I really like to potentially be that 3rd spot.
And Schefter, I don't know exactly when you're expecting to hear it, but the 3rd quarterback in this draft is a big drop off, we think, from number 2.
Well, I think that the specter of the 27 draft hangs over this draft. I
Yes.
think that there are so many quarterbacks that so many teams are looking at for next year already that I don't know if it diminishes the appetite for the quarterbacks this year some,
guys.
but the quarterbacks in this draft class are not considered as high.
What is that? Is that your phone? Is that your phone again? Okay, hold on.
Then he's looking around.
That is the 3rd time Mike Tannenbaum's phone has rung on this. I had this made just for this occasion, okay? I have a phone box.
You sure that's not Adam's phone?
No, I had this made just for you. This is the 3rd time I want the phone in the box. I want the phone's going in the box. I'm sorry. You will get it back at the end of the show.
It should be accompanied with a fine as well.
Yeah,
by the way.
he fined a lot of players in his day. We
That
need
is
that
the
money back.
3rd time.
You can't have phone going off
That
in
is the
shows.
3rd time that we have had.
Are we sure that's not Adam's, right?
Schefter's phone. But what?
Has my phone ever gone off during the show?
You tell me. Well,
Very
I mean,
rarely.
you've been on your phone half the show sometimes, but we're all in favor of that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put my phone in that box no matter what.
That's a $2,000
That would be
fine.
the case. All right, rolling along here on Get Up. And that is Jacksonville and their plans for Travis Hunter, the man who was the star of last year's draft, the two-way sensation. What are the Jaguars' plans for him this season?
Green, my understanding is that his snaps at the cornerback position this season are going to spike. And they're going to spike because the Jacksonville Jaguars last year traded Tyson Campbell, their cornerback, for the cornerback Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome went and signed with the New York Giants. That left the Jacksonville Jaguars with a major hole at the cornerback position. And the reason that the Jaguars gave up everything that they did in the draft last year to go get Travis Hunter is because of the versatility he brings them. If they lost a player at cornerback, they could insert him at cornerback. If they needed help at wide receiver, he's going to play wide receiver. My understanding is that he's not going to play any less at wide receiver this year. He'll be a factor there in certain situations, but his snaps at the cornerback position will undoubtedly spike now.
Look, we live in a world where Shohei Ohtani is doing things that I would have previously said we will never see. So I suppose maybe Travis Hunter will do something that we basically haven't seen since the 1950s and be a true two-way player, snap in, snap out. But you played the cornerback position. So Schefter's talking about his snaps spiking. If you're going to be a full-time corner, if you are going to be a full-time corner, can you also be a significant contributor at any other position in his case?
No, I don't believe so.
No.
I don't. I think you can have some impact plays where you go out there, and we saw with Deion Sanders when he was in the league, where you get a reverse or you line up there, run a go route. But for Travis Hunter, even those highlights we showed, the very first one, he's covering Nico Collins. Then he's on Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce within that. Buster Brown is the cornerback that's probably going to be opposite him. They're going to need Travis Hunter week in and week out to potentially be matched up with the other team's best wide receiver. The amount of work and effort you have to put in throughout the course of the week of studying your opponent to go out there on Sundays and be an absolute shutdown cornerback are insane. And I think personally, if I'm Travis Hunter, I want to go out there and be elite at one of those positions, an all-pro type of player, which is the potential he has. Because when it comes time to do a contract, I don't want to be a guy that's really good on offense and decent on defense. Let me go out there and be an elite shutdown corner and get paid to be one. I think he has the potential to do that with those snaps counts going up on defense.
I want to make sure also that we're very clear and that we're keeping. Deion Sanders is one of the greatest players that ever lived as a corner and as a return man. He was as good and dynamic and exciting as anyone you ever saw. But this idea that he was a true two-way player is just not accurate. I mean, I watched his entire career. He had a combined total of one season in which he had double-digit receptions. Only one out of his whole career. So if you want to tell me Travis Hunter's going to have, I'm just looking at Deion's numbers, 7 catches, okay, I'll buy that. But you're going to tell me he's going to be a full-time corner and catch 60 balls? It's never happened before, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, Greeny, I'm with you. Look, if the four of us were running Jaguars, to me, this would be, let's get Travis Hunter established as a really good corner. He played in 7 games last year, had an injury. And then over time, once he's established, J-Mac, as you mentioned, like, it's really hard to play corner mentally and physically. Then you could start sprinkling. But right now, like, hey, we have a lot invested in him. Let's make him a really good corner. He has all the ability in the world. You know, they hit on Jacoby Myers. Like, I would really focus on corner and go from there.
They're focusing on corner, but they are figuring him at wide receiver too. I'm just telling you, that's where they're at right now. It doesn't mean he's going to play a ton of snaps at wide receiver, but they felt like what made him a unicorn is what's going to make him dangerous this season. More snaps at corner, still playing some wide receiver.
And I think he did it in college. So I think what we're missing on, you can go out there and play an entire game on defense, and if he goes out there on offense and plays 15 snaps and catches 2 passes, like, that's an impactful type of game on the offensive side of the ball. So I do think he has the ability to do both because he showed us from a mental standpoint in college. He was playing all of those plays, learning the offense. The difference is now in the pros, he's going to be covering better receivers every week.
I'm not trying to downplay him. I'm not trying to poo-poo anything that he's trying to do. He's tremendous. Everyone roots for him. He seems like such a great young man. And look, the people running the Jacksonville Jaguars obviously know a hell of a lot more about football than I do. They had a great year last year. They feel like a team that's on the come-up. But the idea that they drafted 2 players in one has just never sat right with me.
Right.
And I think to expect that feels, just as one who has watched the game all of my life, unrealistic.
Let's also say this. They have 4 picks on day 2 this year. Let's see if they take another corner. Let's see if they take another receiver. Let's see what they do with those 4 picks on day 2 of the draft this year.
And at the end of the day, their season will be determined by Trevor Lawrence continuing that, right? I mean, he had a terrific year last year. That coach is obviously great, Liam Cohen. They're moving in the right direction. We'll see that get in the playoffs and see what they're able to do. I'm not trying to knock them, but this idea that he's going to be 2 players instead of 1, it just has never seemed to make sense. Coming up, do the Cowboys need